This is October the 3rd, Tuesday, and it's the last day the Labyrinth Gardens here have been open to the public, although no one turned up for the last day. But I kept these crabapple trees. Two of them I kept with fruit. I've used fruit off of the other ones. We have the yellow ones here, and before the light disappears this evening, I'll take you to the red one. I've come to pick these because I'm going to make a jelly out of these. There's the basket. And while I actually pick these, I'm going to make a jelly out of these that's going to be combined with grapes. And the crabapple is a very ancient fruit. A lot of the big apples that we see, that we're familiar with, they tend to have originated, I gather, from the Middle East or the north of the Middle East, these sort of Istan kind of countries. They spread over to China, then followed the Silk Road through to us, and it's said that people spat out pips, and that's how you got various strains of apple trees. That's the short story anyway. But these, the apples, the crab apples, have been in Ireland and the UK for thousands of years, way before any of this story with the Chinese. It's very much a native of the area that you don't see much of, not in the woods. You don't see them wild very much. I remember as a child the woodlands seemed to be full of them, but you barely seem to see them today. But very, very significant. The nutrition is obviously very nutritious because they're small. Each one of these small apples probably has the nutrition of a large one, but not exactly the most tasty to eat, are they? They're full of vitamin A. People are familiar with vitamin A for the improvement of sight, maintaining vision. There's a bit of a clue there about the folklore and mythology of these. It's said that if you actually make a jelly with these, that it helps to preserve our youth. They are regarded as a kind of fountain of youth, and certainly read up about research with crab apples in related to cancers, especially prostate cancer. But a lot of you will be familiar with Avalon, the place of apples. But Avalon, as you may have heard in stories or read up, is very much like Tir na Nog. It's the place of eternal youth. It's a place of birth. It's a place of life streaming. It's a place that we pass on to, but as we pass on to, we're born again. So it's really, the apple is symbolic of the cycle of life. There's no beginning, there's no end. And so that when we depart from our body and fade away, then what there is of us is free and unconditional, and immediately goes to help the birth of something else. So there's no end really. So the apple, and especially the crab apple, is very symbolic of that. And there's a lot of rituals around this, about life. The bringing forth of life requires a mating dance, doesn't it? It tends to require a male and a female to come together and fall in love and consummate, and the process of life is created, is incubated. So there's a lot of ancient ritual around that, and one of the perhaps the best known is integrating these crab apples with honey, fermenting these apples with honey. We come up with something alcoholic that today we call mead. And mead was a drink that was administered by suitors. Usually the men were the suitors, and quite often they used the apples and honey that were looked after by the women that they were suitoring, and would show how to bring the two together, as if the women didn't know. And they would tend to start a ritual of wooing at the new moon, and there would be this drink shared every day, right through every day until the full moon, and that is the time of consummating the time of mating. And that, there my friends, is one of the stories of the honeymoon. And later on it's said that after a priest, in later years, in medieval years, when the priest actually had ordained, had actually gone through the service of bringing a union together, it was the priest that then brought the mead to the honeymooning couple from the new moon through to the full moon, to ensure their fertility, to ensure that there would be a birth to come. And as you see, I've almost got all the apples off of this. Now the one thing I'm going to do, I don't know if I can, if the camera is here, I'm going to point this. There's a few here, and the actual ritual is that you don't strip an apple tree completely. You have to leave some for the fairies to make sure that you get apples on here next year. And the important thing with the crabapple is the practical fertility. It's by having crabapples here. The reason I've got crabapples here is that they fertilize all the other species of apples. So the bees come here, and any other flying insects come here when there is blossom, and they will take the blossom from here and they'll jump around all of the bigger apple trees. So these are very valuable for this, because they'll cross-pollinate with just about any apple tree. So again, a link with fertility, a link with forever cycling of life. And it said if you can bite and eat these, oh, the bitterness. Actually, it's not bad. But even having these as raw is as good as a lemon. Huge in vitamin C and a great prevention of scurvy. So in ancient times, very important fruit to have on the boats to prevent the sailors, the navigators getting scurvy. So what else do I know about apples? I know, well, wassailing, that's quite familiar. And we haven't done any wassailing here. So I think maybe we will do in January after the 12th night, as they say. So there we are. I've completely stripped the yellow crab apples on this. Left a few for the fae, for the fairies, for the she. And we'll go on to the other tree, which is red crab apples. Well, here I am at the red crab apples, more traditional colour of crab apples. And so this is a quick introduction because I'm running out of light, also running out of battery. So I'll do what I can with these. I think, well, I could go on forever with stories about apples, but I think I've given you, oh, these are harder to pick. I think I've given you enough to think about and contemplate. So I will pick these and again leave one or two for the she. These are going to take a bit more picking because they're resistant. They want to stay here. They want to grow through the winter. So I'll do this and I'll meet you inside. What I was perhaps not very clear about is these crabapple trees are actually within the tree labyrinth garden. There's the studio equipment, and as you see, there's the pathways of the tree labyrinth garden. And there I passed the red oak that is not as red as it does get in autumn. This is going to get redder and pinker. I just think this is very beautiful, and I always stop when I'm passing by. And just another quick flash of fall, of autumn colours before I go inside. Thanks for watching this video. If you would like to visit us at Carrowcrory Cottage and Labyrinth Gardens, please visit carrowcrorycottage.com first. For more videos like this, please subscribe below. Until the next Carrowcrory Journal, happy dreams.